Hello, welcome today to the Christian Construction Podcast. We're going to jump right back in to 1 John chapter number 2. Stay tuned for this episode today. All right, welcome back to the podcast. We've been on about a month-long hiatus, and I didn't get that word out. It could have been dangerous.
Don't ask him to spell that word.
Yeah, don't ask me to spell that. I don't have my series not in front of me to help me. So anyway, about a month-long hiatus, making some changes, getting some stuff worked out. And we're back here. Going to jump back into 1 John chapter number 2 today. Before we do that, we have some congratulations. Brother Keith Norman, how are you?
Show off the ring, brother.
Very well.
Like the women do. Nice little gold on the finger.
Nux.
He said yes. Anyway, so Keith and Miss Kaylin got married at the time of this recording. It's been almost a month now.
It has been a month.
And y'all flew, didn't you? Did y'all fly? Was y'all able to fly?
We did fly.
Yeah, there's a little story about that.
That was an experience, yes.
Y'all pray for me.
Got down to the ticket counter and some things happened.
Yeah, so out of I guess excited that a significant other was going to share my last name,
a little too early there, buddy.
Purchased a plane ticket with my last name on it. And
unbeknownst to him,
yes, we got to the airport, and by that time, it's too late to make any changes to your ticket.
Can you imagine the facial expression when she?
Oh, it was bad.
Oh man,
it was bad.
So they just stayed home.
We were supposed to leave at 7:30.
7:30
on Saturday morning, and didn't leave till 9:30. I had a rental car already lined up in Florida. And that was also pushed back and almost fell through because of the window that we actually landed in. And that ended up being a really terrible, not a bad experience, but it was almost bad.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it actually went off smoother than it did.
Well, you're normally a stressed human being. The sweat and the vein was popping out of it.
If you could have seen me in the airport. If you could have seen me, I about ruined my own honeymoon, just to be honest with you.
So for all of our soon-to-bees who may be watching out there,
don't buy a plane ticket with your significant other's name on it.
If there's one
period.
I'm just glad you didn't change your last name.
Well,
so be sure you carry the marriage certificate, the official wedding certificate, or copy of it with you to the airport if you put the ticket in the future last name.
But in that warning also, you don't get your marriage certificate in North Carolina at the time. They send it back to you some weeks later. So and we still haven't got ours. It's been roughly 4 weeks. So
you're not technically married?
Technically, no.
Oh.
Technically, no, and yes. I don't. Yes, we are.
And it's at this part of the podcast where we'll have to perform church discipline.
Don't you get in that choir, Keith Norman, Pastor?
Technically, yes, we are, and technically, no, we are not. We have no proof.
Oh,
if this podcast has done anything for you, me, this is it right here.
Oh, Lordy. So anyway, it was an eventful day, beautiful wedding. I cried, I always do, like a baby. So it was great though. We had a great time, great wedding, and eventful Saturday morning for you and Miss Kaylin. Nonetheless,
that's an understatement. And thank you to you, men, for being there.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't just a good man on that day. I was the best man.
Rub it in.
Yeah.
And you were all the way up until Saturday morning.
Yeah, it was Saturday morning.
Yeah, you come through for us.
That's right. So, Brother Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I've gained a little bit of weight, a little bit of facial hair. I'm talking a little bit faster.
Yeah, a whole lot faster. Brother Matt don't talk that fast. So, Brother Gabe's back with us. You'll notice a change. Brother Matt is, I guess he's still part of the Christian Construction Podcast family, but for right now, he's wanting to take some time off, and so Brother Gabe has always been a part, even when he wasn't in front of the camera. He does all our editing. He works on a lot of that stuff. Matter of fact, Gabe's got some news concerning getting together a new logo. So I don't know. You want to go ahead and kind of pitch it?
We're on our way. What we're going to try to do is we come about 3 or 4 ideas and put it on the Facebook. Brother Michael's going to put it on the Facebook.
The Facebook.
And
the Twitter machine.
Yeah.
Wait, do we have a Twitter?
I don't know.
I think we do.
I have no social media, no clue how to run it. But I do know this is what we're doing.
I got a MySpace.
So, But what all we want you to do is pick which one you like, and we're going to let you choose our new logo. We're going to put up, I guess it's just a post. We'll post each one. And if you'll go under and comment on which one that you like the best, just put your name in it. And
it'll be like a number 1, 2, 3 or ABC or something.
Sure.
There'll be some way to define which one
and you'll see how to do that.
I hope so.
Yeah, we'll get all that figured out. But we want you to play a part in it. We appreciate how y'all have helped us in this podcast. We wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you guys. So we want you to play a part in it. So we'll let you vote, and whichever one wins is the one that's going to go with our new logo.
That's right. And we're going to have some giveaways coming up, so be sure to continue to watch, share the podcast. You can like it, review it, subscribe, whatever means of social media that you follow us or watch us on. Please be sure to do that. That helps us. It gets the word out, and then in doing so strengthens the body of Christ. And then also want to remind you, this is a ministry of the Love Valley Baptist Church. Our pastor's Barry Philback. Very, very thankful for our church, having confidence in us to be able to be a part of this and to be able to have this ministry going out by these means, and then everything that the church provides for us. And we also got some big news coming up concerning a new church. We have a church app that we're working on right now. You'll be able to also watch the podcast through that app. There's just all kind of neat stuff that's going on right now. And anyway, we're going to jump right into this. Maybe we'll say more about those later on another podcast. The last time we were in 1 John chapter number 2, and we actually stopped off about verse number 6. Chapter number 1 establishes the relationship and begins to promote and center on the fellowship that God intends for us to have with Him once a person gets born again. It's important to remember that 1 John is not written to lost people. These are not salvation verses. Although some of these verses could be used and applied that way, these are not salvation verses. These are verses meant for fellowship with the believer between them and the Lord Jesus Christ. And when we stopped off, we were in verse number 6, chapter 2. He that saith he abideth in him, ought himself also so to walk even as he walked. And we noted that God is dealing with a lot of deception. If a man say, that's found all through chapter 1. You'll also find that phrasing or something similar to that through the remainder of the book. Also in 1 John, a key word is the word know, K-N-O-W, knowledge, to know, to known, knoweth. And that word is found in some variation 39 times. And then also in chapter number 2, beginning in chapter number 2, through the remaining part of the chapter, the word love or loveth or beloved is found in some variation 47 times. So there's a lot of things going on in 1 John, and these words that we mentioned pick up in chapter number 2 and carry on through the 5 chapters in the book of 1 John. So with that being said, we're going to jump in on verse number 7, and we'll read and then make some comments about these verses. The Bible says in verse number 7, Brethren, I write no new commandment unto you, but an old commandment, which ye had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which ye have heard from the beginning. Again, a new commandment I write unto you, which thing is true in him and in you, because the darkness is past, and the true light now shineth. Now let me just ask you, men, for your opinion. Verses 7 and 8 talk about he's not writing a new commandment, but rather he's writing a new commandment from an old perspective.
Right.
Any of you got some comments or any words on that?
As I was reading it earlier, as I read that verse, the end of that verse number 8 says, because the darkness is past and the true light now shineth. In other words, he's offering kind of a contrast. So he's talking about an old commandment, referring to what the Bible says from the beginning. But here he's offering a new commandment from branching off of that old commandment. And then gives the reason why. This is when we come to this, I wanted to say this is not a contradiction. He's not saying this is not a
changing where I stood.
He's
all these
speaking
years.
more clear, almost for them to see. Like, you can see a little bit better now.
Yeah.
Now that where we're at. That's
right.
Absolutely. When I was reading that, I studied that word new, and it does not mean something brand new that's never been introduced. It means a fresh.
Right.
So it means it's as if he is reintroducing something. Of course, the commandment that Christ gave in the Gospels, which was that we're to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, soul, right? And so that, in a sense, encapsulates the first 4 of the 10 Commandments, because that was what the Old Testament saints, they really keyed on was the 10 Commandments.
Right.
So love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, soul, and that's the first 4. And then the second commandment, he said, is to love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right.
And that encapsulates commandments 5 through 10, those
Right.
second 6,
Speaking to man.
which are all dealing with mankind in the context. And so he's just telling them it's new in the sense that it's fresh, but I'm, like you said, I'm not contradicting myself. I'm just giving you something that's fresh, and it's important for you to get a hold of that. Verse number 9. He that saith he is in the light and hateth his brother is in darkness even until now. He that loveth his brother abideth in the light, and there is none occasion of stumbling in him. I thought about this, and I've got this written in my notes. To say I hate somebody because they disagree with me. Now, this is a point of contention, I think, in a lot of churches, and that is that if you don't agree with me, I don't like you,
Right.
and you're not my brother.
No matter how small it may be.
Exactly, over the most minute thing. And I think sometimes in a church like ours, Brother Keith, we have standards. We have, we put a priority on holiness because God puts a priority on that.
Right.
I think sometimes we get a bad rap that how can you say you love somebody if you're against them? Well, here's the problem with that. I can disagree with you and still love you.
Right.
I don't hate you because I disagree with you.
Well, hate almost wishes evil and harm to somebody.
Exactly.
I'm almost cutting you off.
I don't hate you, no.
Well, and that's a big thing that you see in today's churches, even good churches. A lot of churches that are destroyed, somebody somewhere gets crossed up with somebody.
Yeah.
It could be something big. It could be something personal. It might not have nothing to do about the Bible. It might just be a personal matter that come outside of church.
Exactly.
Somebody will grab a hold of something and they'll hate that person.
And they'll hate, and then on the flip side, there's an exaggeration that if you're not okay with what I'm doing, then you must hate me and you can't be right with God. Well, now wait a second. I can disagree with you and still not like what you're doing and still be right with God and still love you.
Oh, yeah.
And so it is a trick of the devil that if somebody in your life is doing wrong, doing something they shouldn't be doing, in order to get you to ease up and not be so hard on them.
Sure.
Or maybe not be judgmental. That's the thing.
Right.
Because you won't indulge in that sin, that makes you judgmental. And all you're doing is saying, hey, look, I'm going to abstain from that. Well, in the process of doing that, you get called a legalist, and you get called where you're judging me, and you're just being mean, and you don't have the love of God in you, and it has nothing to do with the love of God. It has everything to do with standing for what's right. You can still love somebody and disagree with them.
Right.
I think that's a big problem in our church today.
I think about what Paul dealt with in the church of Corinth, where one was fighting after Apollos, one was fighting after Paul, I'm after Christ, and they were so divided. I think this is a perfect picture of what John's saying is don't fool yourself when he says, he that saith he's in the light and hateth his brother is even in darkness even until now. People try to fool themselves. Oh, they will hate somebody, but they'll worship in the choir. They'll act like everything's fine. What John's saying is don't fool yourself. You're not right with God by hating your brother.
Professional grudge holders.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. I grew up in churches, those old mountain churches, where people would they would hold a grudge. And this is the bad thing. When they see that person, they would either shun them to the degree of just pure team meanness, or they would, instead of dealing with the problem, they would cover it up and act like nothing was ever there. Well, then, oh, I love you, everything's fine, but they never really dealt with the problem.
Right.
And that's not a way to go about dealing with things either. It's just constantly cover it up, because then every time you cover it up, there's more layers, and eventually that thing's going to fester and it's going to erupt. And when it does, it will be a mess.
Just leave your gift at the altar. Go get that thing right.
Yeah, leave
your
there.
gift and go get right.
Go talk to your brother and make it right. So verses 9 and 10 really key in and focus on that. Some mistake disagreement for hatred. Disagreement is not hatred. Disagreement is just that. I love you, but I disagree with you.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've learned how to do that in 16 years of marriage. So anyway,
I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah, those three words that you're supposed to say to your wife constantly. I am sorry. Yeah, that's it.
You got it, Keith Hatton. You
You
figured
got
out
it,
my-
right? So, go ahead, Brother Keith.
As to, I guess, almost reiterate what Gabe said. I almost feel like in reading this that and all the way through First John, John is offering a pathway or a method for us to examine ourselves.
Absolutely.
If I'm reading these verses and I have aught in my heart towards somebody, I believe the Lord will point them out to you or make you think about them.
Sure.
Or and the grudge or the hatred that you have toward them, because that's what these verses do. They cause a response to examine yourself.
Yeah.
Is there any hate in me towards somebody?
Yeah.
That's what the Word of God does. It demands a response from us because it's constantly changing us. So as we're reading this, I think, is there any hate in my heart towards somebody? And I believe the Lord will show it to us when we do.
Well, and so many times we want to have, we want God to point stuff out to us, and we sit in a service, and the preacher preaches, and we say, "Oh God, if there's a part of me, and oftentimes we don't have to go that far. If we just open up the Word of God and say, I'm guilty of that, and I'm guilty of that, and I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
God has already pointed those
He's
things
already
out.
pointing
spoken.
fingers. That's
Right. These are the
Yeah.
birthmarks. One preacher would say that years ago, he would say these are the birthmarks of the believer. This is the evidence that you're born again if you're following these things, right?
I don't know if there's a thing that can hinder a person's witness and ability to be spiritual like having hatred towards somebody.
Sure.
That's why I think when the Lord spoke to the disciples, he said,
Yeah.
they'll know that
By this.
Yeah, by this.
By
If
this,
you
yeah.
love one another, you will never find a church that
That's right.
reaches sinners that has hatred in the church.
well. If
Absolutely.
you allow it, if you break your 1 foot to stand on. Say I let hatred in my heart towards one person. I can let hatred in my heart towards anybody. How can I go on to a sinner's door?
Yeah.
And not know somebody? I have hate in my heart towards somebody. And if I can be affected so much that I have hatred in my heart towards somebody, then I can be that way toward anybody, even to a stranger, a sinner behind a door.
Well, by the way, this is going to happen to you. If you go to church and you deal with people long enough, you will have to make it or break it with this verse. You will either choose to forgive and go on, or you'll grow old, bitter, and
I
hate
was
somebody.
fixing to say the exact same thing.
It's going to happen to you.
The ministry is great, church is great. If it wasn't for people, that's the old saying, the old joke. But the reality is, there's people.
Oh,
yeah.
Anywhere where you have people, you're gonna have problems.
Yeah, don't fool yourself. It's going to happen.
And it's much easier just to, instead of picking and choosing who am I going to hate, well, if I hate that person, there's no telling. I'm liable to hate that one now.
Yep.
Best thing to do is just keep yourself clean.
Oh, yeah.
And don't hate nobody. I mean, you can disagree with people and still love them and have a clear conscience towards God in those areas. All right, verse number 11, I think this is interesting. But he that hateth his brother is in darkness and walketh in darkness and knoweth not whither he goeth, because that darkness hath blinded his eyes. And I think about how darkness is always typified with sin, and it's typified with lost people.
Sure.
But we also know that according to the scripture here in 1 John, I believe also is in 1 Peter, 2 Peter, where he talks about being blind, or James talks about being blind, and then in Revelation 3, he talks about the church that was blind.
Right, right.
And so we understand that a person that has sight, if they're not careful, they'll put their own sight out. And so what I would hate as a believer would be to continue on in this sin of hatred or darkness or whatever, and eventually the principle here is that God will give you over to that darkness and say, okay, and it don't mean you lose your salvation. It don't mean that the eternal security is not real. It just means you are going to quit growing.
Right. You're not
and
going
your
nowhere
life
with
as a
the Lord.
Christian is over. Yeah.
Well, and it's hard to see a lot of times they're sort of full of darkness because all they're looking at is themselves.
Yeah.
There's nothing more selfish in someone's life than having hatred towards somebody.
Absolutely. What is Jesus said? If thine eye be single, then the whole body is full of light. And what happens is a person is getting their eyes on everything else instead of keeping their eyes on the Lord. Well, what happens is they're getting darkness in their body, so to speak. They're walking in darkness. They're living in darkness. And it's not so much that they're walking in a dark world, but the dark world has now gotten on the inside of them.
Yeah.
And that's what's, You've heard the old saying about Daniel. Daniel could live for God in Babylon as long as Babylon didn't get inside of Daniel.
Right.
And, we're on a boat and we're out on the sea. There's all kind of analogies. And I'm fine in the stormy sea as long as what's in the sea don't get in the boat and sink me, And so don't let that darkness get inside. And one of the ways to keep from that happening is just love the brethren. You can disagree with them, but you got to love them.
And I was thinking, as I finished saying, if you hate one person, you will always find somebody to hate. But if you have a reason to hate somebody, that there will be somebody else to give you that reason.
There will always be
and so if you allow that darkness to stay there, then there will always be that avenue that darkness stays, and then the darkness just continues to grow.
If you bite that hook one time, the devil will keep throwing it.
He's going to keep
for the rest of your
throwing it.
life.
That's right. I think Brother Andy Wells gives a good illustration about that.
He always does.
He does. He gives the best, the best. And he gives the illustration about how the devil doesn't know what's in your mind. And a lot of people disagree on this. I believe it's 100% accurate. There are some things that I do not verbalize because I don't want the devil to know.
Absolutely.
Whether that's in a prayer time, whether that's in something that's in my mind, I don't want to verbalize it because if he ever knows that that's something that I go for, he will continue to do that. And the illustration is a good fisherman. He's going to go out there on a lake, and maybe he's got a little spinner bait. He's going to throw that out there. And if that don't work, he'll reel that in. He'll rebait. Maybe he'll just use some little old rubber worms. He'll throw that out there. If that don't work, he'll come back in. He'll rebait, and he'll change to another lure. You can tell I don't know much about fishing. And he'll throw the other lure out there, and then all of a sudden something bites on it. And he knows that's what it takes to get the fish in the boat. And that's the way the devil is. He's like a good fisherman.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're going to cut it short today, and we're going to come back next week, pick up in verse number 12. And we hope that this has been an encouragement to you and a blessing to you. We hope you'll tune in next week. We're going to pick back up 1 John chapter 2, talking about these verses, beginning in verse number 12. Tune in next week here on the Christian Construction Podcast.